The fact that the senators aren't here and Harry Reid is off somewhere is all the evidence you need to know that they want to shut down the government.
I feel like, oh brother, where art thou? Only it's so Senate, where art thou? They were too preoccupied to work yesterday. They're too busy to come back today.
We are here to work, and the Senate has been absent for 2 full days.
We are less than 32 hours away from a government shutdown. And where's the Senate? They're not here.
So that was yesterday afternoon on the steps of the U.S. Senate. Tempers flaring among House Republicans. They are none too happy. Government shutdown looking more and more likely by the hour. The deadline is midnight tonight, so starting at 1 a.m. Sunday morning. By the time the Senate even comes back for business this afternoon, 37 hours will have passed since the funding of the House bill. 37 hours since the Senate has even convened. Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert with me now. Sir, good morning to you. I know you're not happy about this. Where are we? Are we shutting down?
Well, I think the problem goes back to January of 2011 when Democrats were whispering all over Capitol Hill. If we can get the Republicans to refuse to just totally capitulate, we can get a shutdown, they'll get blamed, and we'll get the majority back in the House. That has been the conventional wisdom on Capitol Hill since the majority in the House was lost in November 2010. So they have been pushing that. If you go back to spring of 2011, we were trying to get some reforms, very minimal reforms, and we got to midnight on a Friday, and we caved completely just so that the press wouldn't say Republicans shut it down. But the bottom line here is we made one offer. They refused to even negotiate. We are bidding against ourselves. And look, at least, for heaven's sake, you've given big business a 1-year extension. Why not give individuals in America the same extension? Why are you so prejudiced for business and against the lower middle class, the working class? Why not help all Americans? And I think we saw the answer. They didn't want to be here this weekend because they want to push this to a shutdown, thinking they win politically. But
okay, let me ask you a couple. Let me ask you a couple specific questions. You said last time you caved in, meaning Republicans. Does that suggest this time you are not caving in? You are not giving in, which means the government shuts down?
Bill, we've heard from so many of our constituents across the country that have already lost insurance, had it go up more than they can afford, lost their doctors, all those broken promises. And then they see the president willing to negotiate with Russians, willing to negotiate with Iranians, but refusing to negotiate with other Americans. I hope that Americans are going to get the picture pretty clearly here.
What is the strongest hand that you believe you hold now?
When you stand up for truth and stand up for what's right and the individual American across the country, I think eventually, no matter how much the lamestream fights it, eventually the truth comes out, and that's what we're counting on.
Well, you mentioned the delays. I know you're pushing for a delay for the individual mandate. You say, look at all the waivers and all the delays that have gone to businesses, subsidies for unions, subsidies for members of Congress and their staffs. And that you believe it's only right to delay all this law for an additional year. Can you win at this late point to do that?
Well, I think we shouldn't get anything more than any American person has. In fact, we're the servants. We're not the masters. We're the servants. And that needs to be fixed with regard to the subsidy. But I think the best thing to do is put it on hold for a year. And let me also point out, you've heard me criticize our speaker plenty of times. 2.5 years ago, I began really pushing, if there's ever a shutdown, the military in harm's way should never have to worry about getting their check. And the Speaker finally let us bring a bill to the floor this time so that the military will get paid. I told him, I don't care whose name's on it, just bring the bill to the floor, and we got that done through the House. So I'm hoping the Senate will at least have a little sympathy for our military, even though they want to play political games.
One more question here, and this doesn't necessarily deal with the shutdown or even Obamacare, but the debt ceiling that's going to happen in mid-October. You were quoted as saying to Harry Reid, the debt ceiling is the law. Unless you want that shoved back in your face, then you need to be flexible and help the American people. What do you mean?
Well, that's
shoved
right,
back
because
in your face. What is that?
Well, that's because and I know I had a Huffington Post reporter say, what does that mean? And I know Huffington Post reporters have trouble understanding metaphors. But the fact is the President, Harry Reid, have talked about how Obamacare is the law. There's nothing to be done. It's the law. Get over it. It's the law. And so I'm going, well, okay, if you're saying Obamacare is the law, well, the debt ceiling is the law. You need to get over that too. So we're going to bring that right back to them. I'm speaking metaphorically, shoving it right back in their face. Look, this is the law too. The deficit ceiling is what it is. So unless you want that brought back in your face, then you need to be more flexible on Obamacare as well.
Understood. Well, I have one more quick question for you, sir. What is your sense about how united Republicans are? Are there any breaks in the ranks here? Any cracks in that armor?
Well, I think when you've seen on the floor the entire Republican Party vote together in the House, that's pretty encouraging. Well, there are always disagreements. There are disagreements in my family. When you love each other, you can have disagreements. If everybody agrees, then all but one's unnecessary. So I think that's a healthy thing, but we're united in trying to help Americans.
Okay. All right. Well, Lou Gilmer, thank you for your time, sir. Going to be an interesting
Thanks,
couple
Bill.
of hours here. Nice to talk to you.